Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. Last episode, we've started getting some trains running to different cities and bringing in new resources. As we can see, one of them pulling in right now. And I think I want to continue that by adding a few more connections across the map by train. Now, we currently have this train running on this line, and this takes us all the way over to the city of Jackson, and this line stops over here. However, we also continued a line that kept going to the construction materials plant so that those resources could be brought in all the way over to the cargo hub. Now, I think this presents us with a pretty interesting opportunity, as this construction materials plant station connects up to both the city of Downey and the city of Mesa. So if we just sort of repeat what we did over at the Jackson Distribution Center and have this part of the station or somewhere else over here be pretty much a through line, we can have trains bypass the station and then connect up to these two sets of tracks, where then we can run lines into Downey or Mesa. So doing this project will probably require us to rebuild a little bit of this station, as we already had to add this little S-bend in the tracks just to get it to meet up with this platform, and we'll definitely need more space to create a bend smooth enough where the trains can keep their speed and join onto these tracks. So I think that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. So let's just come in to this station, and we can clearly see we can't add any more tracks onto this side of the station, so that's pretty much out of the question. So we'll probably have to pause so we don't break everything over here, but I think we're gonna need to delete this station like so, and then we're probably gonna have to move it farther up this way, and then we can just sort of fill in this space with whatever we see fit that'll match the style of this whole warehouse area. So quickly, let's just flatten the ground so we have a nice even area when we place down our station. Then we'll get rid of a bunch of these trees just so we can see what we're doing. And now we should be able to figure out how we're going to fit a cargo station in here. Now with this station that we're going to go with, we can actually have it selected to have 8 tracks, and that'll get it to be bigger than what we had before, since for some reason we can only get 6 tracks in here. So we might not even really have to move where the station is to begin with, although we might give ourselves just a bit more space so that our third set of tracks can line up with these tracks over here. And so we'll pull this part out until probably here looks good. And we did the smallest station just so we have as much customizability as possible. So then what I think we can do is come in here, delete this road, and we can see the terrain's all messed up, so we'll have to come through and re-flatten this area. And then we can come through, place a new road. This one we'll have probably about here. And we might keep it a dirt road. Let's just keep it a dirt road for now. And you can see we didn't really have to move it over that far, so we might not even really have to redesign this whole area. So we'll place this down right about here. And then we'll come through with our brush and we'll paint this new strip of grass with asphalt. So now this whole side is pretty much done up, and we're gonna keep these new roads because I kind of like them and it sort of modernizes the area. So we'll just follow that around. I think these roads will just upgrade to these asphalt roads. But then all of these over here will upgrade. And same down to our harbor. And now I don't think this looks too bad, so I think we can keep this and we can get into customizing this station to be whatever we want. And of course the first thing is going to be figuring out our main building placement and the other cargo buildings. So looks like for some reason we can't fit that large main building back in here, despite it being there before. So we might just have to delete this road, and we'll configure this first, and then we'll get into everything else. So we'll put the main building here and hope it doesn't really destroy much of this stuff. And it looks like that worked just fine. And then we'll just extend it out as far as we can go. And we can even fit one of these ramps here, which adds a good bit to the look of this area. So then we'll just try to add this road back in how it was before. So probably like that. And then I think we're good to fill in the rest of this small area with asphalt, and then we can expand our platforms and tracks. So now let's come in here and get to our platforms first of all. And we'll extend this out maybe one more, because we'll be starting to get longer trains in here. So then now that we got our platforms extended, we can just quickly throw in a bunch of tracks. And so I think this looks pretty good. We can see here we can even hold a decent amount at each platform and a good bit in our buildings. So then now all we have to do is connect up our tracks and figure out how we're going to connect up to these tracks over here from this line. So let's continue to delete these tracks and we'll pull these back a fair amount, probably all the way back until where they join up. So we'll do that, and then we'll pretty much do the same thing over here for these. Do them until about there. We'll continue to flatten out all of this so our tracks end up looking pretty decent. And then let's figure out how we're going to get these tracks to line up into these platforms. So I think we'll start out with this, where these tracks stay separated instead of coming right next to each other. I've never really played around much with having a lot of crossovers and switches between tracks, so I could be doing this very wrong, and this whole thing's very experimental. So if anyone has tips or tricks or recommendations on how to make this look better, more efficient than what I'm doing, please feel free to give those feedback in the comments. But this video will pretty much just be playing around and figuring out what at least works for getting to these two tracks. So then the next part of this is connecting these tracks to the station. And we'll leave these here for now. I don't think we need a pass-through set since we'll only be using one of these platforms for the train. So then we can pretty much come off of this end. And at some point we'll need to connect to these tracks. Alright, so this is what I ended up coming with, and it doesn't really look that great. I tried a few different ways, but I just couldn't get the tracks to look all smooth as they crossed over and weaved together. The issue, I think, is really just lack of space, because we don't have much space to create smooth curves to keep the train at top speed, especially with this track starting to slope up so quickly. If we wait until we're all the way back here to get a nice smooth crossover, the slope is gonna be very steep to get up to this level for the tracks. But this solution I'm kind of okay with. It looks better than some of the other iterations I've had. So we'll keep this, add a bunch of signals, so hopefully it functions properly. And then in the end, we'll see if it actually works the way we intend. Alright, so I think we have our signals how we want them. I think I got it so that at any point no train will be blocking these crosses. So hopefully now we should be able to reset these lines to this station, and everything should function how it was before. Alright, so we switched the terminals, and if we click play, we don't have any error messages, which is good. And if we come in here to our overview and take a look, it looks like all of these are functioning properly as well. So the benefit of keeping these lines to Mesa and Downey is we won't have to spend the extra resources to bring the construction materials all the way back here and then ship them all the way back out again. So this will help to reduce the size of the train that will be coming through this way, since these will probably be fairly large trains, since they'll be pretty infrequent and we'll need to carry a lot of goods to these cities. Now, taking a look at the two cities that we're ready to connect up, it seems like Downey, we won't be able to connect a train up to it in this episode, as we don't have goods going to the cargo hub just yet. That's probably something we'll do soon, since we do have this goods factory over here up and running. So I think eventually we're going to reroute this train line over to the cargo hub instead of into Jackson, but for now I'm okay with keeping it. And so coming back to Downey, we see that we're already bringing construction materials here, and there's nothing else that the city needs. So really we need to focus on growing Downey so that it begins to request another resource. And really the only way we have left to do that is by passenger, and maybe just giving it a little edge by building out some of the roads and maybe helping it climb this massive hill. So first let's come here, and we'll probably want to smooth out a lot of this area, as the city will probably build roads here anyway. We'll do the same over here, but I think we'll start to flatten out patches of this land over here, just so we don't get all of this weird cliffs and stuff with the houses. So we'll start to flatten out and sort of tier the city as it climbs up this hill. So now that we have that all flattened out, we'll smooth out the edges, because we don't want it to look too structured and man-made, but we just want to help the city get a leg up. And then we'll flatten out a little portion here. We'll do this, cut into the hill quite a bit, come back through and smooth it all out. And then we'll provide another sort of tier right at about this level. And this will come back all the way out to here. And it looks like as we were doing that, we ran into a bit of an issue. It looks like our construction materials train is a little bit too long for this switch here, so we'll probably just have to move this down a little bit. I think this station might have been just a bit longer before when we had it here, so It's not a huge thing, at least it's not some weird pathing logistical thing with everything over on that end. So we'll just delete these signals and we'll build this switch probably farther back towards this way, just to give room in case we do expand this train in the future. And then we'll replace these signals and everything should be good over here. So then anyway, coming back to the city of Mesa, we'll just bring this flattened area out just a bit farther and then we'll smooth everything out. So now, in the end, this is what this hill now looks like. It's quite a bit shallower than it was before, and you can already see the city started to build some roads in here, so that's good to see, and hopefully we won't get a bunch of these jagged edges as we did down here when it was building in all of this rough terrain. So then we'll just come in here and maybe add and extend some of these roads just to help the city out when it comes to starting to fill in these areas, as we want it to look good, and sometimes the automatic city AI doesn't quite make it look that great. We'll just come in here, extend a few of these roads. Maybe we'll bring this and continue it over this way, so we'll end up with some cliffside buildings over here overlooking the train station. And then I think the last thing we'll do in terms of helping the city out a bit is just creating an intersection here and extending this road to connect somewhere over here. Alright, so this is how we'll leave this area. Hopefully Downey continues to expand, and pretty soon we'll be able to get a larger cargo train to this area. But now we can focus on the city of Mesa. So one quick thing before we connect a train up to the city of Mesa, I want to actually get construction materials heading to the cargo hub, because if we look here, our train has made a few trips, but there still isn't anything waiting, and that's because I don't think anything over here is taking construction materials anywhere. So the only option I can see us doing that is over here in Santa Clarita with this truck line, because if we take a look at some of the other lines we have coming in here, we don't have construction materials yet. So I think what we're going to do is come in here, manage this line, and from the cargo hub we'll also allow construction materials. And then in Santa Clarita, it looks like construction materials are pretty much everywhere, but I think if we placed a new truck stop over, I think right about here, we'll be able to cover pretty much all the construction materials in the town, besides some of the pockets over here and over here. So then all we'll have to do is come over here to this road depot, find a truck that can carry construction materials, and grab a few of those. So we'll go with 4. That should be more than enough, and we'll have that go from one of these platforms over to this truck stop. And then we'll just specify to load construction materials only. So now hopefully once these lines get up and running, we'll see our construction materials plant all the way over here begin to recognize Santa Clarita as a consumer. And in anticipation of that, I want to come in here to our quarry line and just upgrade our trucks so that we can increase the capacity and the speed that they're traveling at. So it looks like these trucks here will give us our best option in terms of transporting stone. And looking at this, it looks like we're getting to the point where we could probably start to sell a few of these, since we're not carrying tiny amounts with slow horses anymore, so we don't want to have just a bunch of trucks wasting money by sitting there. We could have one or two queued up, but we don't necessarily want to have a line of trucks. So we sold 5. Hopefully that runs a bit more smoothly, and it looks like we might also have to upgrade our trucks going to the port so that those don't also hold up our new trucks. So we'll grab these just for the sake of variety, and I think we'll do the same thing. We'll sell probably 2 or 3 of them, since they have considerably more capacity, and we're sort of slowly starting to transition away from using just this port to output all of our resources. So it looks like our construction materials plant is leveling up yet again, and we almost have it fully maxed out. Probably once Santa Clarita gets recognized, we might actually start maxing out our construction materials plant here. So anyway, while we wait for our construction materials plant to begin producing construction materials for the cargo hub, let's come over to our city of Mesa and see what it needs. So looking at our city of Mesa over here, it looks like it's only just starting to demand fuel. So we could make a train, but it won't be very profitable for quite a while. And also be a fairly small train, since the only thing we'll really be able to transport at the moment is the fuel. But I think it'll still be worth it to start getting fuel over here, as that'll just help to further establish the demand and push the city to grow even faster. So let's try to do that. But first, I think let's set up a inner city bus network just to improve this number here, the public transport, so that the city can grow larger, and that'll just help us grow the city even faster and keep the resources that we're unlocking. So we'll just place these around. I think we only need 3 at the moment. Grab this road depot, and then find one of our buses. Looks like we've unlocked quite a few. Let's go with these because they have pretty high capacity. We'll grab 4 of them and then just have them go around this loop, and hopefully that'll help grow the city of Mesa and establish the fuel demand that was here. So after some quick troubleshooting and messing around some stuff, it looks like we finally recognized Santa Clarita as a consumer, as we see this number continue to jump up quite quickly, and that should get our construction materials plant fully maxed out. So if we need more construction materials, we might need to set up a different line somewhere else, but it looks like this number is just going to continue to rise as the numbers update for Santa Clarita. But hopefully that means we now will see this platform here to begin to populate with our construction materials to cargo hub line. And while we're looking at this, it looks like the Downey construction materials line needs upgraded. And if we take a look at the train, it's pretty obvious that this train definitely needs to be updated. So let's just do that quick while we're here. Alright, so we'll just replace it with this train. The engine we're using is... where is it? Right here, the 4664 Alco Challenger. So we'll just replace it with that. And if we can find this train, we should see we almost completely doubled its old capacity, and I believe we also increased the top speed. So hopefully that'll free up some more space in these storage buildings for some of the other platforms once those start getting used much more regularly. So it does look like we've increased the target population of Mesa. However, we're still a little low on the fuel end. We'll just make this train so that it can run in the background and help grow the city when this number does pop up or grow. But we're not going to really expect it to make money pretty much at all until probably a couple of years in the future. So we'll come over here to our train depot, and we'll have to find a train that we want to carry this fuel. Now, all of our current engines that are running on that line have a top speed of 90 miles an hour, or 75 I should say, so whatever we pick should probably have a top speed that's the same if not higher, just so we're not slowing down the entire network just because of our one train. So that really limits us on what engines we can pick. So this is the train we're going to go with. We're using the nickel plate 284 Class S2 train, since I don't really want to just keep populating it with these EMD E8 trains. As much as I think they're pretty cool, I do like to have some variety with the engines that we're using. I think eventually we'll try and see if maybe a 4884 Big Boy could work on one of those lines, as I think it'd be cool seeing this train pull seeing this engine pull a really huge train. So maybe that's something to look forward to in the future. And a lot of our other faster trains are really more geared towards passenger trains, so they probably wouldn't really quite look right on a cargo train. But anyway, we'll get this, we'll set up the new line to run from the cargo hub all the way up and over into the city of Mesa, and we'll just set this to only load fuel and then unload over here in the city. And then I believe all we have to do then is set up a truck station, and I'm not sure if there's currently fuel here. Yeah, it looks like that number dropped back down, but we'll set up a line anyway. We'll have very few trucks carrying it, so we'll probably only get 2 trucks to be honest. And we'll set up this line to go from here, and we'll just assume this truck station. We'll set this so that's only loading fuel, and that should be this whole area set up. So once Mesa starts requesting fuel again, hopefully we'll see that train carrying fuel, but for now it'll pretty much just sort of be a money sink until that works out. And we can actually see that train starting to come around right here, as I believe we have our construction materials train somewhere over here, so they'll end up passing each other, which is pretty cool. But I think for the most part that's really going to be all in this that we're going to do in this episode. We've completely maxed out our construction materials plant and connected up another city to the cargo hub, so I think we're in a pretty good spot for our future. One thing that I will say needs overhauled in the very near future is our passenger train network, as almost all of these stations have tons of people waiting, which isn't a bad thing, but we're definitely leaving some money on the table by not transporting all of them. So I think that might be our next project we'll end up seeing, but for now that's all for this video. So then with that, that's going to be all for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.